yourself with the twin flames. Okay. So keep in mind, you notice that I edit the twin flame part out and I make a separate video. I'm doing that so that the twin flame people, I'm leaving little breadcrumbs for them to get to human design in Kundalini Yoga, because the twin flame connection, once it gets activated, it's so out there. There's no logical explanation for it, right? It's so beyond our scope that it forces people on their spiritual journey, but it forces them to be their authentic self. So we're talking about this 1/8, this 1/8. So if you're watching the edit, you want to go to the longer video, and there's the 1/8. We're talking about the 1/8 channel. So this is all about being your authentic self, right? But it's also about expressing your authentic self, and it's all about embodiment of your authentic self. So that's exactly what the twin flame journey is about. It's throwing off not self. It's bringing up those deep, deep shadows, right? To be integrated. It's bringing up the not self. Oh my God, I've been living a lie for so long. The twin flame mirrors that back to you, and vice versa, where you've been living a lie, right? And of course, the ego doesn't like that. The ego doesn't like that. The ego likes to be attached. It likes to know everything, right? Things work this way, logic, strategy. This is how relationships work. But it's about an ego death, and that's your not self. So that's what gets triggered. Okay, so I did cards here. I don't have time to do the animal card, which I didn't like to sacrifice, but we had to keep with this because of the time. So this is the chaser, and this is the runner, right? So this is the polarity of the soul, right? What happens in the twin flame journey is one becomes the chaser, right? And one becomes the runner, but it's coming from the same frequency, right? So authenticity in the twin flame journey does not mean that you're the same. Because there's that misconception. Well, we're the same. No, you're not the same. This is the same. The frequency of the soul is the same. The essence is the same, that frequency, but how it's expressed is different. And that's what you want to embrace, is this, your authenticity, your authenticity. So let's see. So this is the twin flame reading for this transit. When Uranus is in the 8, right? And Venus is in the 1. Venus is in the 1. Right? So Uranus in the 8 is breaking you away from not self, breaking everything that's not you. So it can feel like your life's falling apart, like all these things are happening, that nothing goes right for me. That's the ego talking. Everything's going right for you. Soon as you start to see losses, it's like everything's going right for me. Things are being taken away because they don't fit with my authentic self. This is a gift. It's being ripped from you. Ripped away from you. It's ripping that mask off your face so that you can really, really be yourself in this lifetime. And then we've got the Venus, right? And this is what you value. It's your relationships, and speaking in an authentic way from who you really are is really, really important during this transit. And the great thing is you're going to be immune to, I worry about what other people think of me, and what would people think if I did this and I did that, and broke away from these friends that want me, that are connected to my not self. Even your family of origin can be connected to your not self. These are these old roles that we take on in childhood, right? Even your family of origin. You can't assume that your family of origin are on your soul tribe, right? Or on your fractal line. Right? You could be karmically placed there for a reason. And these are the black sheep, right? The black sheep, they're the alchemists. They're here to alchemize ancestral wounding, which is another role too of the runner and chaser, right? To alchemize these old ancestral patterns, relationship patterns that just serve this program, right? They just serve the not self. They're not serving true authenticity. Okay, so let's look at the chaser first. And so these are the ego cards. Two jumped out. And this is the you're not alone, you're all alone. That's what the ego is telling you. You're all alone. And then nihilism. Okay, so this is the ego, what the ego is going to come up with the 1-8, right? So you have to remember, runner and chaser, this is your true enemy, is this ego. And this is the not self that's keeping you out of your power, Okay, so the ego is telling the chaser that there's no support for you. You're all alone. There's nobody. Nobody understands. Maybe nobody understands this twin flame journey, because this could be a lonely path. As an individual, it can be lonely. As a twin flame, this can be very lonely, because not many people on the planet can understand. Though you're going to sound like you're insane if you start to describe what this is to just a person that's never experienced this. They'll try to pathologize it. That's what the West does. When they don't understand something, they pathologize it and make it into, put it in the DSM-3 or the DSM-4 now, or whatever number they're at, right? And try to medicate you out of it and do all this therapy to get you out of it. That's when they don't understand evolution. This is evolution. Twin flames, this is the evolution of our relationships. Okay, so it can feel lonely. And there's the ego telling you you're all alone. No one understands you. There's no support for you. Because in the dark night of the soul, I'm surprised we didn't get the dark night of the soul card. You can feel very alone. And remember, the lunar eclipse activated the 36th gate, and that's the dark night of the soul. The point is to be alone, right? Chaser, the point is to be alone, to be in your own frequency, so that you know your frequency, that you have your primary relationship is not with your twin flame, it's with God, it's with the divine, right? So there's the ego, you're alone, but it's really a lie. You're not alone. You're with the divine. And this is what we really want, but the ego projects it on the twin flame, because you get that feeling of oneness, right? Alone, right? If you look at the word alone, it's all oneness, right? That's what it really is. It's all oneness when you're with the divine. But you get this feeling when you connect with your twin flame, whether you're aware of it or not. It's this sense of oneness, this oneness that's already inside you, but they help activate it. They activate what's not that. That's why the chaos ensues, right? But the ego will say it's them. You need to get them back. You need to fix them. You need to wait for them, and then you can have this feeling back. And it's already there inside you, right? They're just the trigger. They just have come and triggered this, right? So so the nihilism card, right? This is like life is hopeless. Life is hopeless. The ego tells you that life is meaningless. There's no divine. Right? It's the Easter Bunny. I remember somebody told me that once. Believing in the divine is like believing in the Easter Bunny. It can bring depression, right? It can bring depression. But I also want to say with the nihilism, it's part of this great shift of the ages that we're going through too. That many people, the ancients said this, there's many people on the planet will feel this sense of nihilism, like the black-pilled, right? It's like, oh, they're so pessimistic about life and what's happening, and there's no change, and it's like Groundhog Day. It's gray, 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 gray. This is the gray period of the planet that we're in. And it's just because everything's shifting and changing, including our bodies and our chemistry too, right? So this is coming closer with the chasers going through the dark night of the soul. You want to embrace it. So embrace your solitude. and your aloneness, right? The divine has taken everything away, all these supports, so that you can go deep, deep inside yourself. That's the point of the twin flame journey, is to realize that you're a soul. That's what you're awakening up to, that you're a soul in the real sense of the word, that it's not like an imagination. It's real. It's real. So the more and more you feel that emptiness, right? The more and more you feel this emptiness and life is meaning, you're getting closer and closer to your power. So to know that, don't give up. Don't give up. You're getting closer and closer with your power. But as you come closer and closer through this emptiness, right? The ego is going to get stronger and stronger with that voice. You're all alone. There's no meaning, right? And then it will come out with the trump card, right? Which is, just off yourself. That's the last, when suicidal thoughts come, you know you're really, really, really close, right? To something really big and huge. Yeah. So the chasers don't want to be listening to their ego or distracting yourself out of this process, right? So you want to embrace your aloneness now. And then the Hierophant on the bottom, which is what you don't see. In the Hierophant, that's spirituality, right? That's spiritual knowledge. This is deep spiritual knowledge that's waiting for you. That's waiting for you to finally, like, I'm not going to distract myself anymore. I'm going to embrace this aloneness, right? I'm not going to be thinking about the twin flame. I'm just going to go deep, deep, and deep into myself. And there's the Hierophant waiting for you. This is your inner teacher, right? This is your inner teacher. We all have an inner guru, right? Guru's not a person. Guru's an energy. It's a subtle form of energy that brings the light into the darkness, brings you out of darkness. You come out of the goo, right? With the ru, with the light within you, right? Takes you out of the darkness. What's the darkness? It's the darkness of the ego, the ignorance of the ego. So that's what you don't see, that you have all this help. You do have a lot of support, right? There's the ego telling you got no support. And then the Hierophant is like, you got plenty of support. You just need to shut off that ego and mind, not listen to it, and come deeper into yourself, right? So that's very, very positive. That's real support, when you have the support of the divine, not a person, the support of the divine. Okay, and then the guidance here is the Four of Swords, which is retreat, right? The Four of Swords is kind of the only positive swords in tarot. The Four of Swords, and that's to retreat, to go inside during this 1/8 transit. You have the opportunity to really speak from your authentic self, through writing, like somebody mentioned that on the chat, like writing, journaling, maybe some kind of art practice that you feel comfortable with, like drawing or painting, whatever it is, dancing even. It's just all expressing yourself. But this is about going deep within. This would be meditation, right? Meditation. And go deep, deep within. And then face this Nine of Swords, right? That's the guidance. This is the anxiety. This is the anxiety. The mental anxiety, right? This is being in the mind, because the mind is freaking out. Remember, we're going through the solar plexus mutation. We're coming into spirit awareness. Of course, anxiety is going to be there because we're so used to giving our power over to our mind. It doesn't want to lose control. So it's going to bring out a lot of fears, right? A lot of fear will come up. And again, this is part of the dark night of the soul. It's facing your innermost fears. But you have to go within to do it. You can't feel it out here on the external and try to control it. It's an inside job. Yeah. So that's through the chaser. So if you're new to the twin flame connection, then, and you identify as the chaser, then You know, in terms of the twin flames, the chaser goes first. It goes deep, deep in. So this is saying that you've got the opportunity to go right to the bottom, like even go deeper now into this dark night of the soul. Okay. And then we've got the runner on the other side. And there's definitely a mirroring here. And this the give up, kind of like the nihilism card, right? Give up. Give up, it's hopeless. So remember that the runner really experiences this ego death on the external, right? On the external. The chaser, it's really internal. They really feel it because remember they're evolving through the emotional body. And the runners are evolving through the mental body. And the mental body is the one that's really entrenched in the Maya, right? So again, it depends even on your chart. Your human design chart will show you, when you go deep into the chart, into tone, it will show you some are like so merged with the Maya because of how their mind works that it's really difficult to like untangle the mind from Maya, their own personal mind from Maya, right? So what gets their attention? The soul is trying to get their attention, and that's like chaos, tower moments out. Remember, we got the tower card last time too for the solar eclipse, right? So that's the soul getting the runner's attention. Like, break out of this Maya. You're in a dream, right? Wake up out of this dream that this is just a material world, that this is it, and it's logical, and this is what I have to do to be safe, right? The soul is like, this is the alarm clock for the runners, right? So this is the breakdown of the ego. The ego's like, this hopeless. I have no control. I used to have so much control over my material world and my relationships. Now I don't. All these things are going wrong in my life. It's hopeless, right? Then the ego's saying to give up, right? To give up. So it could be a little bit of a mirroring of this nihilism between the runner and the chaser. But it's saying to, persevere. So maybe you have a dream, right? And you're trying to get out of this karma that you're in, right? Because we talk about often the runner is involved in a karmic relationships, and they go through a karmic cycle. They have to go through a karmic cycle. This is what they're learning, right? So it can feel like hopeless. This karma feels hopeless. I can never get out of this karmic relationship. I can never get out of this karmic situation. And the ego is saying, no, it's hopeless, right? Just give up. Just stay with it, right? Better the devil you know than the one you don't. Like things like that. It's too unsafe. Things are too uncertain. This happiness is all like Easter Bunny, Santa Claus stuff. It's all an illusion. That's how the ego will talk to you. But this card is saying that you're so close. Again, and the closer you get to your power, the closer you get to completing a karmic cycle, then the ego gets more and more vicious. More and more vicious. And then you've got failure on the other side, right? And the ego's telling you that you're a failure. Give up. Here's the ego messages. And you're a failure. And you're a failure. So the runners have to look back at this word failure. Does it have a stigma attached to it for you, this word failure? Because this failure is coming from ancestors. Your ancestors, this failure, can go back to two. We're going to be, isn't that interesting? Just a little heads up, the full moon is activating the 32. I think the 32 is there. Is that right? 32? No, it's anyway, don't believe me on that one. I'm not certain about that. But anyway, I know the 32 is part of that chart. I haven't looked at it in depth yet, but that's for my next live stream. But the 32 is the shadow of failure. Right? Right here, off the spleen. So this is money, right? The 32 represents money. Okay, right there. So there can be, this failure can involve money, right? Well, I can't leave this karmic situation because I know there's a steady paycheck, right? There's a steady paycheck. There's money. There's material support here, right? So right away, this tells me there's no trust. There's no trust in the divine here, right? It's putting your trust in the ego. It's putting your trust in the material world, right? And that's not a good place to be right now, especially with the shakeups for the runners, right? They're getting shook up. The soul is pounding them with things not going right, right? Things not going right. But it's also ancestral. Let's go back to that with the runners. It's ancestral here. So this would go with the karmic cycle, right? So maybe you're in a karmic cycle right now and it involves money, karmic relationships, right? You're unhappy, right? The ego is saying you're a failure, give up, dreaming for anything more, dreaming for happiness, right? Dreaming of fulfillment and satisfaction, dreaming for something to fulfill your highest potential, right? The ego is trying to put a wet blanket on all of that, right? On the inspiration, right? Inspiration that's coming. So this is something that's closing. And again, I want to say that you're getting really, really close, and to persevere and stay with it. Stay with it. Okay. And you want to keep trying. You want to try. Whatever your intuition is telling you to do, try. Don't listen to the ego, right? Don't listen to the ego. So you need you need to meditate. I can't stress that enough with runners, chasers, projectors, MGs, Gs, reflectors, manifestors, is meditation, because meditation gives you a relationship between you and your mind. And then you realize that this voice is not you. A lot of people think that ego's voice is them, right? They don't know what their intuition sounds like. There's the ego pretending. The ego can pretend it's your intuition, right? So to meditate will really, really help you to discern those, right? What's your true self and your soul's voice, and then what's your intuition saying? Yeah. Okay. So let's go to what you don't see. What you don't see, runners, is choice. Two of Swords is about making a choice. It's about making a choice. So you have to see that you are making a choice. You are making a choice. You're not a victim to this. You're not a victim to this mind and this ego. You are making a choice. And what's your choice? Is you're listening to your ego. You're listening to that ego and you're not listening to the soul. And you're unaware of this. So right away, because we're talking the 1-8, I'm empowering you right now as a natal 1-8, is you are making a choice. There's no such thing as a victim. I'm choosing to listen to this voice. I'm choosing not to move forward in what my intuition is telling me to do, right? I'm making a choice. So right there, just own that. It's like, okay, I'm making a choice. I'm not aware of this, but I'm just going to take it in and just let it percolate, right? Percolate that I'm making a choice. And you start with each and every moment where I'm making a choice. I'm making a choice to listen to this. Okay, I'm going to make the choice to listen to my intuition now, more and more. And your intuition will get stronger and stronger. And then the reality starts to shift. So also make the choice that this karmic cycle is ended. It's the solar eclipse. It's ended, right? So sometimes it takes a little bit of time for it to catch up on the external through time and space. Okay, so the Two of Swords. And then the guidance is beautiful. It's the Ace of Cups. New beginnings in love, right? So new beginnings in love. This is for you, right? Runners, this is for you. This is what the divine wants for you, is love. Is love. There's a cup being offered to you by the divine. Could be being offered to you by your twin flame. There's the cup, right? The cup is there for you. It's all divinely orchestrated for you. But you have to love yourself first, right? You're not going to receive that cup unless you love yourself first, right? If you're in your ego, it's like this suspicion. What's that person want from me? They want to manipulate me. They want to hurt me. They want to betray me, right? That's the ego. The ego will never accept true love. It will only accept the ego's version of love, right? The tit for tat, the conditional love, which isn't real love. So you have to love yourself first. And then, isn't that interesting? You got the Nine of Wands. And what did I say? Persistence. Where's the Nine of Wands? The Nine of Wands. See? And that's the wounded warrior. That's the warrior. That has to not give up. Don't give up hope. Don't listen to the ego that says you're a failure. You're ready for success. You're so close to success, right? So you're persevering, staying strong with this love, with your own self-love, right? So the 1-8 is going to help you with that, because that energy is coming from your authentic self. I love myself and I deserve better than this. I want something better than this in my life, right? So it just takes some discipline here. And then there's the overall energy, right? The 8 of Wands. This is movement, right? This is movement. This is communication for both, right? Both runner and chaser. So does it mean it's movement and communication with one another? Maybe, maybe not. But it's definitely movement on your spiritual journey as an individual, right? Because we're in the 1-8 transit. Yeah. So I really feel the 1-8 is supporting the twin flame connections at this time. Okay. So let's keep